Welcome to another episode of the cut content of Spec Ops The Line. This will be a quick one, but the findings in it are still really interesting. This comes from the default engine.ini file found within Spec Ops The Line's configuration folder in Steam. Near the bottom of the document, there are 4 settings that are all false by default. Each of them pertain to demo builds, and by enabling them, you can set up the story mode to progress as if it's one of the previous demos done for the game. 4 options are there: Demo Build, Press Demo Build, Press Demo 2 Build, and Public Demo Build. And I'll be going through how each of these slightly change the game. The first thing is that all of them only affect story mode. I didn't notice any changes to cooperative mode or multiplayer or anything of the sort. What they do is affect which levels you can select from the chapter select option and how they're presented. The first one, that just says demo build, only gives you the option to start with chapter 1. It doesn't take you to the map like it normally would. It just lists chapter 1 and gives you the option to select it. However, the game kind of soft locks here. You can't continue from that point, and trying to go back on the menu doesn't do anything, so you pretty much have to restart the game or just quit it. The same goes for the public demo build. Now, it sounds like it would be handling things in the same way as the demo on Steam, where after the prologue it starts you out on chapter 1, then moves on to chapter 5. But that can't really be verified completely because you can't really progress with this. There's no way to get beyond the menu option. Things are more interesting with the press demo options. First press demo build goes through a specific selection of chapters. Both of them involve the map as well, similar to how the final game does it. The only difference is that the map doesn't move along with the chapter progression like it normally does. In the final game, the map will zoom in and move alongside you as you go up the list of chapters, but here it just sticks with the overview and maintains that as you go up as far as chapter 9 for one of the options. The first option for it just limits you to chapters 1, 2, 5, 6, and 9. So that's the opening chapter, the evacuation, then the chapter where you fight your way through the recording studio and fall into the hotel, then the edge, then the pit, and then finally chapter 9, the road, where you encounter Conrad for the first time. Press Demo 2 limits you to chapters 1, 2, 4, 7, and 8. And this order is really interesting because this lines up with some stories about how playtesters handled the game, where they got to experience the white phosphorus scene for themselves. Doing it all the way up to chapter 8 would culminate in that scene. And that would also give you a good overview of the game's premise, because you'd have the initial fights against the refugees or insurgents, then you would get the inciting chapter where the enemies become the 33rd, then you get the first incident with the white phosphorus in chapter 7, and that would culminate in, I guess at that point that would be the choice to use the white phosphorus development, but it isn't entirely clear. Either way, playtesters would see it for themselves. And I know in pre-release articles it's been mentioned that the white phosphorus choice was present. So that's really interesting. Makes me think that the playtesters saw the scene for themselves. And I had heard there are some differences in how it played out, that it was more gruesome initially, but there's nothing really verified from developers. And also, I'm not sure if you can really top the gruesomeness of the scene in the final game as it is. But it's fascinating stuff. It's a strange option that's nestled away in the final game, and it's surprising that you can turn it back on, that it's functional. What do you guys think about that? Like, do you think there's anything more to it, or do you think it's just an option to limit the story mode progression for the sake of a demo? I don't think there'd be anything in it that could potentially bring the game back to that point in development, but it's still neat that there are the remnants of the demo structure and layout that they would use to present to the press or to playtesters. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the cut content of Spec Ops The Line. Catch you all later.